and welcome to March, where we still have these wonderful characters with us. And continuing on from last time, it's the turn of the good guys. But first, Trigger Angry has come back from destroying the Federation.
Yes, first of all, I apologise. Yeah. First of all, I've just apologised for any quality errors, which you can see now. It's my awful internet. I very much apologise. Now, while I was off destroying the Federation, I got a bit bored, and I thought, well, why don't I destroy some other people as well? So, I went down here.
What, in your bedroom? You went into your room? You went a bit further down into your room?
I made the battle plans, right? And after I conquered each race and, different species, I collected medals from each race. Isn't that great?
That's quite
so as you can see, I have conquered the Federation in the past. I've conquered the Klingons, the Romulans, the Ferengi, the Vulcans, and I've beaten the Federation across time. And this was great. No, I'm just kidding. I got them off a Ferengi merchant. So this kind of thing. So yeah, and this thing opens up, and it's got you can take them all out and things like that.
Probably better to leave them secure inside.
Yeah,
they look nicer.
Yeah, and there's
but you can't resist. You got to take them out and have a little play.
Yeah, I've taken them out on occasion, and there's obviously the TNG badge in the corner there, but there's no clip on the back. But that's it's a very nice. It was a nice guy down the road who thought, well, his brother found it at a car boot sale, I think, and this is from 1992, I think. Which right. You've no idea how much this will be worth now, but I don't think I'd want to sell it. So I'm very happy I got that.
Shall we rename the show to Antiques Roadshow?
Sorry,
get a valuer in.
That's 1992. That's hardly antiques.
Whoa,
it's only 21 years old.
Yeah, Luke was only 2 or 3 at the time.
Yeah. I was. That was my formative years right there.
Yeah.
Next generation.
Yeah, that's basically what I got up to. And I have been watching more of Sherlock, of course, but I've not finished it yet. So me and John have agreed we'll discuss Sherlock in detail next DataStream.
And now let's pin Richard on the square. Well, square, peg, whatever.
More of a rectangle.
Because we got an email the other week saying Riser would be launching its new stuff in May, and then it all went down. And what happened?
I broke it just a little bit. Basically, I was doing a data transfer, and the network crashed, and basically my backups and the current files all got corrupt. And the website just crashed, and I couldn't get it back up and running. And that's the face I made when I saw it. And so basically, it was either shut down Riser or get the new version online as quickly as possible. So we got the new version online as quickly as possible.
And it looks wonderfully beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of features that we wanted to put in aren't now going to be in until May time. So things like being able to post to Twitter and Facebook, that's still something we're integrating and everything else. So that's going to happen. And I have been officially banned from my own web server by my head of development. So therefore I can no longer destroy the website. So that's all good news.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
quality control invades.
Indeed. But the new version, it's got a lot more features than the older version did. And so we're still working just to kind of transfer all the old data across, because that wasn't luckily affected. So we're still working on things. So yeah.
And quickly throwing back to Trigger Angry, the Epic Seaman Streams asks, is that a new suit jacket?
I forgot to mention I'm wearing black tonight. It isn't new, but it's well, I kind of had it sitting around for a while. It's a bit short, so I've not really worn it anywhere else, but I thought it's fine tonight because I got this for Christmas, so yeah.
So let's actually dive into what we're talking about. Last time we were talking about bad guys, who makes the best enemies. And we sort of decided the ones we don't see that often, the ones that aren't easily defeatable, all those sort of things. So, this time we're switching over to the good guys. So, let's not stick with the main people we usually get in these franchises, because they always win. Let's talk, first of all, about some of the other allies that always come in and are there when you need them. So,
right, start us off, please.
Well,
because I have no idea where to go.
With Stargate, you have the Asgard, who, well, are one of the great and powerful, or depending on where you are, was. But were,
you know, I've been playing a lot of Gmod lately. You know, Gmod. It's this thing you can get on the Steam, and if you don't know what Steam is, you have no right to be on the internet. And there's a Stargate mod for Steam. No,
yes,
Gmod, which you can dial the gates, and you've got the rings and all the other technology. It's really cool. I do intend to use it in Machinima in future, in filmmaking. But I've sort of discovered, there's something I've always known, I suppose, really, that the Asgard have the coolest technology in Stargate.
So the most beautiful as well.
Yeah, I mean, I like their crystals. I like their transporter effects. I like their plasma beam weapons installed on the Odyssey in Unending. I like all that. That's good. Some good stuff on there, and they're like really nice. Really, you know, they're like benevolent.
I guess the sleekness you could also compare to Star Trek's Federation, because they look quite sleek compared to sort of the Klingon ships, which are a bit more
rugged.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to a certain extent, I agree. I think they're
certainly sleek.
I think that the Asgard are slightly more shiny lens flare more than the Federation, except of course in the JJ films. I think that they're really good. The Asgard, I rate them. You know, every time that Thor turns up on Stargate, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be good.
Supreme Commander.
Supreme Commander.
If you recall, that happened in one of the episodes when he was being referred to by I think it was Paddle on Earth. So that was quite a nice moment. So they're one of Earth's allies that they could call upon for help, and they boosted all of Earth's tech as well, didn't they? Towards the end of the Stargate runs, with transporters, shields, and computer cores.
Yes, well, they'd had the transporters for a while, and they'd had a few odds and ends of shield technology for a while. But yeah, in the final episode of SG-1, of course, spoilers, although, you know, it's definitely something worth watching, so I'm not just saying that for the lols. They do give Earth their entire back catalogue of technology. And that's really cool. And that really basically sets the Tauri, I should say, as basically the highest technological race in the galaxy after 10 years of them trotting out P90s through the Stargate. Absolutely. It's a big step up. And in the storyline of SG-1, that is definitely a pretty satisfying conclusion to the arc of the show, in which Earth tries to... From day one, they are out there going through the Stargate, not to save people necessarily, not to be the good guys necessarily, but to find technology to save the Earth from the Goa'uld. And they do that, and that's a nice coda for the show to end on.
And at the first time we get introduced to them as well, we really have our Norse mythology there, which was quite
that's something
nice.
that sort of got away a bit as it went along, really. The Asgard sort of became their own thing rather than based upon a specific... religion or faith, as the Goa'uld and some of the others were, especially the Alright. But I like that. I like that he's a hologram of some big mighty warrior with a hammer that you see in the Thor films, and then the hologram sort of disintegrates, and there he is.
I saw this great image somebody had done on I think it was Reddit just the other day, in that the movie poster for Thor had Supreme Commander 4 on it.
Yeah.
In a very sort of heroic pose with cape.
Also, fun fact, Thor was voiced by Michael Shanks, who also played Dr. Daniel Jackson on the show. Slightly modified, obviously.
And in Stargate, we also have other races that are there and help Earth along at points, but some have greater appearances than others. We have the Tok'ra, who are quite good, but we have very small ones that we only see a couple of times. The Nox, I think we only ever saw once.
No, you saw. There's a few. There's 2 or 3 appearances of them, but only in. You never go back to their planet or anything. They're only a make limited appearance, basically, much in the same vein as the Tolan, if you remember them. Although I never particularly rated them, I always thought they're pretty arrogant and up themselves, basically. But that's just me. They built their own Stargate and it looked rubbish. But there we go.
Wait.
Yeah, it's just rubbish. Again, that's on Gmod. It's quite comprehensive, this mod.
That's
actually.
the only way I know
impressive.
about it, you know, because of the
Yeah,
tone.
no, it is in the show very briefly, but it looks rubbish.
So, which allies or friends of the Federation can some of you name and come up with?
Well, allies of the Federation in Star Trek, yeah? We've got the Klingons.
They
most of
weren't
the time.
always allies, though.
Yeah, most of the time. We can probably come back to that. We have occasionally the Romulans, but not really. They're just kind of, they're not enemies or allies, they're just kind of annoying
pain.
to everyone. Yeah. We have, again, the Ferengi are just kind of in the middle, you know, they're just kind of annoying to every single race. I suppose the Klingons are kind of the main one, aren't we? We've got the Vulcans, of course. So we have Vulcans, Klingons, kind of Romulans. Difficult thing. Well, let's talk about the Vulcans for a bit, shall we?
Okay. The Vulcans didn't have much faith in Earth, did they? With our capabilities at the start, as we saw through the events of Enterprise.
Yes, I thought that was an interesting thing to do with Enterprise. Was having, you know, the Vulcans being, you know, apparently, you know, at the end of First Contact, we see the Vulcans arriving at Earth and these amazing people, and then by the time we're in Enterprise, they're already pestering them and controlling them, or just sort of being really annoying to them. And I think it's, you know, over the course of Enterprise, Archer eventually manages to, you know, gain the trust of the Vulcans and, you know, unite, you know, the Andorians, the Tellarites, the Vulcans, you know, to make the basis for the Federation, you know, with the coalition of planets. So, you know, that's good. It starts off with the Vulcans.
And then later on, we don't really have much to do with the Vulcan High Command and things, do we?
No. Yeah.
Well,
that
it was the Vulcan in the this is sort of quasi canon. The Vulcan High Command is disbanded after the events of season 4 of Enterprise. Basically,
I haven't quite got there yet.
No. Look,
Or do they get disbanded?
Sorry.
Or do they get disbanded? No.
Yeah, there's a bit of mystery that I'm sure you don't really need to know the answer to. No, yeah, I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen season 4 of Enterprise, which in fairness is about 9 years old, but it isn't. The Vulcans are certainly put on a different path in that season. Very, very definitely. Not sort of, it's not ambiguous. They're definitely put on a very different path than the arrogance and the military that you see of the Vulcan High Command in the earlier seasons. They certainly go towards more of a peaceful route than they were thinking of, mostly because of the discovery of an artifact, but I won't spoil much else about that.
So, Luke, what else? Well, where do you want to go with this point about Vulcans then?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not really too sure. They were kind of more prominent through Enterprise, and then there wasn't really much to do with them in the Next Generation. Certainly not Voyager, and there are only a few Vulcans in Deep Space Nine. So no, I liked how the Vulcans were portrayed throughout Enterprise. And
I think the thing about Next Generation is when Gene Roddenberry created Next Generation, he was very consciously trying to move away from some of the basically the tropes and certainly the races seen in the original series. He didn't want to have Klingons right away. He didn't want to do the Romulans. He didn't want to have all the old races back, and that most certainly included the Vulcans. Now, of course, there are some Vulcans in Next Generation, even in the very first episode in the background of Enterprise D's corridors. But he definitely wanted to make a conscious decision not to focus on that and see what new races he could create, like, the Ferengi. So very quickly, they went back to the Romulans, of course, to establish them as much more of a meaty power than they used to be. And although not as enemies, really, the Klingons were definitely explored hugely during Next Generation, and certainly a lot more in DS9. So whilst they didn't set out in Next Generation to focus on the old races, that's certainly where they ended up. But in a good way, in a positive way, I think. I can see what Gene Roddenberry was thinking when he thought, okay, we've done the Vulcans to death with Spock in the original series, let's try something new. And that is a good way to keep things fresh.
Yeah.
It didn't work out that way, but I think the intention was certainly a very good one. But, I mean, we have 2 Vulcan Voyager. We have Dr. Solar, which has been expanded on in the New Frontier novels by Peter David. There are quite a lot of Vulcans going on in the 24th century, but never more than their big appearances in Enterprise.
So, who else is there around? The Klingons are ones that weren't always the good guys, were they?
No, they were not. Was it a war in the 23rd century against them? Yeah.
Yes.
So it was interesting how they kind of developed into this sort of good guys in Next Generation, but it's still a kind of uneasy, difficult relationship. And in episodes like Redemption, it's Worf choosing between the Klingons or Starfleet, basically. And obviously he goes for his brother with the Klingons, and then he's forced to make that decision again in Way of the Warrior in Deep Space Nine. And then he chooses the Federation this time, and then of course another war starts with the Klingons. But that all gets sorted later on in Deep Space Nine, and then they become allies again. But yeah, the Klingons have kind of, in the 24th century anyway, they were always kind of the kind of first allies you turn to, since they like fighting. But they were the big bad guys in the 23rd century, the original series. The kind of beard stroking villains. And then in Next Generation, they kind of, and Deep Space Nine, they became the more sort of the people you turn to. In Enterprise, they were well portrayed, and obviously we have the explanation of when, their ridges disappeared for about 100 years or something. So there's all that, and the Klingons are kind of, it starts off with the Klingons, obviously, in Enterprise, and the Vulcans not wanting, the Klingons to get annoyed by Archer bringing Clang back to them and all that kind of thing. But the Klingons are the kind of probably one of the most recognized things about Star Trek.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Why expand on that at all? You're being very quiet.
Yeah, I mean, the Klingons throughout kind of the whole series is what's the plural of series? That's interesting.
Series is the plural of series.
Oh, okay. Throughout the whole
I know.
that is quite odd. Okay, well, throughout the whole generations, TOS, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, and everything else. Sorry, I can't get my laptop to stay still. There we go. So throughout all of them, the Klingons, you've seen definite evolution. Obviously, there was a little bit of a tiff, earlier on, the Federation and the Klingons. But obviously, the Klingons are about honor and victory, and always being the best that possibly they can be. And so, I can understand, them beginning, quite hostile towards the Federation, but then working as great allies together to then defeat the bigger picture of the other enemies and other people like that. My favourite ally that I can think of the top of my head, and I'm going to go a little bit off the subject, is Admiral Janeway in Voyager. I think that's my favourite ally. And Luke doesn't think so.
Not necessarily.
Explain.
First.
Explain.
Well, I think, I like the idea how Admiral Janeway is breaking the Prime Directive, the Temporal Prime Directive rather, and, to use technology to then help her get back, to save Chakotay and Seven of Nine, to allow them to have a relationship, to allow them to come home.
She doesn't stop
almost-
caring about her crew.
Yeah, exactly. I think, that's the ultimate sacrifice. She therefore dies in her present to save the past to then change the future. And I think, that's quite a big sacrifice for someone to make. And so with everything that she does, I think she is an ultimate ally.
Yeah, I see where you're going there. Although, it's kind of hard to think about Admiral Janeway with the sort of, Voyager just kind of ended and they thought, okay, how are we going to end this? And then they just kind
Borg.
of shoehorned old Janeway in there. And Borg, yeah. But, I kind of see where you're coming from. I mean, in Voyager there were a lot of different races. Perhaps something that would be maybe more interesting towards the end would be something about all the people that Voyager helped, change or help.
Well, it's quite difficult because of the
Stop.
distance they travelled. They were always moving forward. They weren't going backwards to revisit
That's
them.
true, but I see what Luke means by that. Actually, I've never thought about
They
that.
affected
and that's
so many
quite a good
people.
idea.
And races and everything. I mean, if there was just some kind of thing showing the impact that Voyager had in the Delta Quadrant, at the end, rather than just them with grey-haired Janeway destroying everything.
You want one of these things like they do at the end of documentaries? Luke went on to pass his maths test or something.
Luke went on to pass his maths test. Richard continued to work on his Riser project, but it failed after he ran into several £1 million of debt after breaking it once. And John continued with his JF Media productions, whilst Luke Sutton finished Unity and then had a nervous breakdown at the fact he didn't know what to do next.
And
So
then
join us
made this
next time.
documentary.
Yeah. That sort of thing, yes. No, not in such coy terms, perhaps, but it would be nice to see something like that. I always thought Voyager should... Well, I didn't always think this, because for all its flaws, I like Endgame, it's alright. But the Caretaker...
Hang on. What flaws in Endgame?
I agree with Luke on this. There are enough to count.
This is beside the point, right? Caretaker. They set up at the end of the first episode of Voyager that there's another creature that can send them home. Okay. Now that was originally a plot device intended to be used if, for whatever reason, creative reason, or the viewers didn't like it, they could get Voyager home really quickly and just do a 24th century show if they absolutely had to, right? So that's a good plot device set up for that. Obviously that didn't happen. And the format was successful for whatever Voyager's flaws, which we have gone on about before. And then they used it in episode. They used the other caretaker, the female caretaker, in a season 2 episode of Voyager called Cold Fire.
And she goes mental.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of a waste. Actually, it's a good episode, very well done, but you see, I just thought it failed to live up to the premise to a certain extent. I would have liked to see more of a coda, more of a bookending to the entire series. In the final episode, they find this other caretaker, and by this point, they may well have entered the Beta Quadrant. So they're, quite a, they're getting on for home, but it would have been another 16 years or something in Endgame if Admiral Janeway hadn't interfered. And I would have liked to
that's
see
weird how her hair just turned completely grey in 16 years.
Yeah, it does
I never
do
realised
that. It does do that. Just look at my parents, and they and I would have liked to see the other caretaker in the finale of Voyager, and have something to do to sort of resonate with the themes of the first one in Caretaker. That's just me. I always thought it'd be good, just like Q appears in Encounter at Farpoint and then All Good Things, with the same thematic system going on.
Yeah, the judgment of humanity and everything else.
I don't know what Voyager's theme was, perhaps overarching, but
The journey home.
Yeah, that's what I would
guess
argue.
that's quite.
It's too broad, yeah.
It's quite superficial. But whatever it was, I would have liked to see that in the finale. As it was, Voyager became about the Borg, and obviously, as a fan-pleasing thing, they could not put them in there for the last episode. I understand that, and it worked, I guess. But for all the same, I thought that would be a nice alternative possibility for an end to Voyager.
Even if the Borg were in it as well,
The Borg could have been assimilating this new creature. They might have had to team up to stop him from turning them into like a Sporocystian Borg or whatever type of life.
A Borg assimilating species 8472.
Yeah, they were underused too, and I don't really like what's going on with them in Star Trek Online myself.
And
but that's
interestingly, during the course of Voyager, they also had a switch from bad to good, didn't they?
That made me very angry indeed. Okay, I think Scorpion is arguably the best two-parter of the whole of Voyager.
Yes.
Perfect. It's a really good episode. It was kind of the same quality as some really good Deep Space Nine episodes, but obviously Voyager's a serial show. You can't do a sort of story arc thing without it being like an immediate two-parter. So Scorpion was really good, right? And I think the episode where Species 8472 came back, where the Herodian, the big race of season 4, were chasing that member of Species 8472, injured it, and then it goes crazy and kills them. I think that episode was really good. It was tense, and it was that was good. That was exactly what they should have been. But I really didn't like in the season 5 episode where they've got the simulation of Earth because they're planning to invade it or something. Because then, for one thing, it makes them, if they're disguised as humans, sort of trying to get used to Starfleet Command, which no one has any idea how they managed to make the biosphere, do that. It kind of turns them into people rather than a sort of unrelatable, evil alien race which you don't want to mess with. Yeah, you've got these creatures are now talking like people now, and are communicating with Chakotay as well, and all that kind of thing. So that kind of ruined it for me a little bit. And then obviously when they make peace with them at the end, that was they had a really good villain and really tons of good opportunities, and they kind of spoiled it with that episode, I think. Excuse me while I just steal
There's
my
like
cat.
nods are all around for that.
I've got some comments on that if you care to hear them.
Go for it.
Yeah, no, I agree with Luke. Yeah. Their Herodian episode is terrific. Still kept that ambiguity about the 8472. Still kept them alien whilst giving them a little bit of sympathy, learning a little more about them. Good species development as opposed to character development. In the Flesh, which is the season 5 episode Luke speaks of, I do like it. I think it's a little bit silly myself. I think basically they're trying to do the shapeshifter thing all over again, which is unfortunately the route it's taken in Star Trek Online, because that's a storyline they were in the middle of in DS9 at the same time. So I thought that was a bit silly. I quite like the idea of this sort of training camp for Starfleet Command, and I do like the ending. I think it's sort of sweet that, Boothby, albeit Species 8472's Boothby, the gardener, gives Captain Janeway a rose. That's all very sweet. But I did think it rather prematurely ended the 8472 storyline. I think they could have made peace with a few of them and then like there might have been some sort of internal conflict, or there might be more of a not an invasion storyline, but a misunderstanding.
They could have been used better in the series finale, I think. I mean, imagine. I think Voyager. I think this is a problem with the actual show, is the fact that it's serial, yeah. So you can't do any proper story arcs with it. But I don't know if there was maybe, I don't know, a story arc for half a season or a season or something with 8472 chasing Voyager throughout or something like that. You know, something like the Year of Hell storyline, which is part of that.
Of course. Year
But
of
you know,
Hell
I think 8472 would have worked better than the Borg for the series finale. Possibly.
the Delta Quadrant is all about new life and sort of completely strange creatures and aliens. There's going to be no Klingons, no Romulans, completely strange. In that regard, yeah, I agree. Although the Borg obviously became a definitive part of Voyager that Voyager couldn't have lived without, I don't think. Yeah, I think 872 could have.
I think the Borg were totally overused in Voyager, though.
Oh, they are. But they are also sort of half the course when it comes to Voyager, I think.
Yeah.
And if they hadn't done the Borg in Voyager, fans would not be happy. I think it tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. I think, right, as I said, Scorpion's really good. It's a really good introduction to, you know, we've had hints about the Borg throughout season 3 of Voyager, things like that, you know. And then suddenly Voyager are faced with this huge threat. And then there's an even bigger threat than the Borg, which is, you know, even scarier. And I think the Borg in Voyager were good up until the last good one was probably Dark Frontier in season 5.
Absolutely love that. I adore it.
And
really good use of the Borg, really epic, and doesn't sort of cheapen them.
Yeah, and I think the introduction of the Queen made the Borg less scary because it's a single voice now. It's the same thing I was going on about earlier with 8472 are kind of personified in flesh. But when the Queen's fine, right? I don't mind the Queen, but I think the Borg are scarier in Voyager, in Scorpion, when it's all of them speaking, you know, to Janeway and Voyager and all of that. I think Dark Frontier is good for an introduction to the Queen, but then if you take Unimatrix Zero, that is awful. I must say that episode is terrible, and the Queen, it is purely the Queen in that episode. If you think about it, it's all about the Queen and Janeway, which they're trying to do some sort of nemesis kind of thing. You know, Janeway's nemesis is the Queen and all that, and then I didn't mind
I thought it was Picard. I thought it was supposed to be Picard and the Queen.
Exactly.
Wait, it's a different Queen.
But
well,
you know,
no, it's not. No, this is a whole debate. No, it's not. It's the same. The Queen is just a figurehead. It's like a queen of a beehive. They're sort of like siblings or something.
Yeah.
I don't think they're, even though they look different occasionally. There's a big uncertainty there. She said in First Contact, you all think in such three-dimensional terms. You know, implying that there's more to her than that.
Yeah, I think the Borg Queen she was fine in Dark Frontier. I didn't mind her there. It was a fine introduction, but in Unimatrix Zero, I don't think she worked very well. I didn't mind her in Endgame so much. She wasn't as sort of annoying, I suppose. And I think Alice Creek's probably a better actor than Susanna Thompson for being the Queen. But you know, I don't think that's really the problem. I think the Queen and the Borg, as a result, with the Borg being overused time and time again, gradually sort of, you know, degraded into nothing.
Have we gone a bit off topic here?
Just a little bit.
Probably. We still was sort of talking good and bad there. Okay, let's step away from Star Trek then. We've already touched on Stargate. Let's pick on another series. Any suggestions? Richard,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Which series would you like to go find some good guys in?
Okay. Here's one that I've kind of recently gotten quite into. Is The Tomorrow People. It's currently being broadcasted on E4 in the UK. and I'm quite into it. It's basically a remake of an old show where these almost superhumans who are genetically better are able to teleport, use telekinesis, and use telepathy to do anything they like, really. But they can't kill. And there's this government agency called Ultra who are trying to stop them and kill them to stop the spread because they think the Tomorrow People are bad. So I think the Tomorrow People. How familiar are you guys with that? I don't really know.
Nope. How are they?
I'm aware of it. I'm aware it used to be a completely cheesy, low-budget 80s thing on BBC One or Two or whatever god-awful channel was responsible for that. But yes, no, I know it had a remake. I don't know much about it. The concept doesn't particularly appeal to me, but differences are possible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel as if it's a good show. I like the remake of it, and so for that, the good guys in that kind of sense are the Tomorrow People. And funny enough, I've got the TV on in the background, and there's an advert on it on E4 at the moment. But it's kind of like this paradox with the main character, Stephen. He's working for Ultra with his uncle, but also with the Tomorrow People who are in hiding, which I think that kind of juxtaposition is really interesting, and so makes to be quite a good character for him. So there we go. That's my
division
franchise.
of loyalties. Division
Yeah,
of loyalties.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, I guess there's one we can go and find, don't you think? Now,
Okay, all right. Okay, I'll take the bait. Okay, right.
The list is probably very, very long.
Here's the one: Garak from Deep Space Nine. Right, best ally of all time. Great character. I've been lucky enough to meet Andrew Robinson, who portrayed him on DS9, and he's a great guy. He also authored a book called A Stitch in Time, which I own. It's really good. And I just think he's a great character, both as mostly as an ally, because there is an ambiguity about him. If he's really, a spy, or what sort of past he has, or if he can be trusted. And throughout Deep Space Nine, he puts in some great appearances where you do question his loyalties throughout. It's not as though he gets more and more trustworthy as time goes on. In Season 6, indeed, he still has some dubious qualities when he helps Captain Sisko get the Romulans into the Dominion War. And I just think that there's a richness of character, which is common of pretty much all the characters in Deep Space Nine, as opposed to some of the two-dimensional characterizations in TNG and Voyager. But him especially, Garak especially, I really approve of as an ally who can hem your dress, or equally be at the controls of the Defiant, or equally disintegrate some rather unfortunately timed Cardassians. He's a sort of full of tricks, full of skills that you wouldn't necessarily think a tailor would have. That's just my bit.
Okay.
It's kind of a similar thing with the Romulans kind of thing. You can't really trust Garak, but he's on your side. I think Garak's a really good character in Deep Space Nine.
So, skipping across to the Doctor Who universe, we have a pretty long list there of the Doctor's companions who you can all call goodies, can't we?
Yeah.
Captain Jack.
Shall we take just a few?
Let's take some of our top ones, shall we? Now, we've just had Captain Jack blurted out. Anyone want to elaborate?
Well, I don't watch Torchwood, so I can't really.
I mean, I like the crossover that they did with the Torchwood and Doctor Who thing, and especially in a couple of the Christmas episodes when they did like all the crossovers with like Sarah Jane adventures, Torchwood and Doctor Who. That was quite good. When they had obviously Dr. Donna, David Tennant as Doctor Who, Captain Jack. Oh my God, what's the Sarah Jane? Sarah Jane as well, and like all the companions coming together to drive the TARDIS. I thought that was a really empowering moment, and I thought it was just really awesome how they did that. And obviously Captain Jack, not being able to die, or not being dead for long anyway. So, yeah, there's that.
Yes, that was a really nice scene and a perfect way of sort of ending that run, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Tennant did a couple of specials leading up to his exit after that, but Journey's End, which is the episode you're thinking of, certainly does sum up and, I don't know, round off, I suppose, the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who, the first 5 years of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So, any companions in particular that deserve higher merit, then?
Jamie McCrimmon.
Yay!
All the way through the Second Doctor's era, there was always Jamie. He didn't start out as the smartest, but he kind of became the Second Doctor's good friend throughout it, and it's good that Jamie was always there, and he was a good character as well. Everybody, that you just can't dislike, and he was always there, and he's the kind of bit of a ladies' man, bit of an action hero, but he's a bit thick as well. But yeah, I liked Jamie. I liked Jamie. I liked him. He was part of the reason why the Patrick Troughton era is good, because him and Patrick Troughton play off each other very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as well as Captain Jack having his own series, Sarah Jane also did. Which, while wasn't broadcast on Torchwood didn't start on BBC 1 or 2, it started on BBC 3. And Sarah Jane Adventures was CBBC.
Torchwood had a very... John Barrowman always said that Torchwood had to prove itself always. It always had to reinvent itself each season. It started off on BBC 3 exclusively. Very, very successful on there. Series 2 was on BBC 3 as well, but had some sort of pre-watershed edit of each episode on BBC 2 a couple of nights later. And then, of course, for Children of Earth, it moved to BBC 1. And then it got remade as the American version, which was also on BBC 1, but was also in America on the Stars network, I believe.
Well, there's an interesting thing with the BBC 3 with the potential closer.
Really?
Can't even speak today.
Yeah.
Closure.
I don't really know what to make of that, really. They've launched the BBC have recently launched a new iPlayer, or rather an enhanced BBC iPlayer, which I've yet to use, actually. And it's supposedly going to be the new format for a lot of TV shows, that they're going to make a lot more creative content is going to be uploaded directly to iPlayer for viewers to enjoy, rather than being broadcast on a traditional channel. And this is going to be much in the same vein as Netflix and Love Film. It is going to be the medium in which we consume television. It's not that television as a genre is going to, TV shows are still going to be 60-minute or 30-minute or whatever affairs, but the way in which we consume, the way in which we receive them, I think is going to be different.
You've
and
then
this
got
is
the
just next
problems
step
of
towards
getting your connection, as Luke has problems with his. Being able to even appear here.
Really, am I disappearing?
Well, you had problems earlier. Let's put it that way. So, anyone else?
Or
Big
yeah,
ones
it's a bit
from
harder than good
classics?
villains. isn't it? It's a bit more difficult than good villains because, allies are the kind of people that are. It's kind of difficult to describe.
They're either there all the time, or you hardly really see them.
Yeah, and it is difficult to describe them. What they do in a show. More so than talking about villains. So there is that kind of thing. But I think we have kind of covered British television, haven't we?
Well, let's go back to something you blurted out. You've been catching up on the Spider-Man the animated series, correct?
Yes.
Oh God!
What
here
do we have
This
from
is
there?
This is
Because,
Ian
of
John's
course-
time to speak now.
Because of course, we don't just cover Star Trek and those things. We're all sort of geeky things. So, comics and animated comics come into that. So, what have we got?
For Spider-Man, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing with that TV show in the 90s was they kind of included almost every Marvel character you could think of, pretty much. So there were a lot to choose from. I seem to remember in one episode there was one with Daredevil, which I seem to remember being quite good. There was one which featured all the X-Men from the show at the time, which had sort of Spider-Man and Wolverine not really liking each other very much, which I think is a kind of thing with Marvel. Spider-Man and Wolverine hate each other. It's kind of a constant throughout the whole universe sort of thing. But I think that's well done in this TV show anyway. And of course, David Warner plays the bad guy in that episode, which is good. There have been, there's Iron Man, people like that later on in the show as well.
You have a really great saga towards the end of the run, the Secret War,
Yeah.
where
That
it
has-
is good versus bad. You've got two teams fighting it out on a planet.
Yeah.
So, can
For
you
a great
remember
year.
which of the good guys were picked for Spidey's team?
I think we obviously had the leader of the group being Spider-Man. We had Iron Man. I think all of the Fantastic Four were there.
Yeah.
The Lizard was there.
No, he actually joined he was originally the bad guy until he got knocked unconscious and
Stark from the
Doctor
X-Men.
whatever his name's personality came back to the surface.
Yeah, and Storm from the X-Men, I think. Sorry, looking rich if you're getting bored by this, but it's me and John's time now. Shan't be long. But, that's a good episode. And, of course, all the bad guys in that one. We have, there's Doom, I believe. Is that right?
I can't remember the bad guys.
There's Doctor Doom, there's the Red Skull, and Doctor Octopus, I believe. In that episode, and I think all the good guys in that, they work together well. But I think the only thing with this show in particular is when, especially with Secret Wars, it kind of drew the attention away from Spider-Man, the main character, a little bit. Fitting everyone else's origin stories in and things like that. So
it
that
was more a fun series rather than really keeping continuality.
It did, it did detract from the main character a little bit, but it's good seeing other, heroes on this show, especially, it's good fun seeing all that. And an interesting fact, which will interest Luke, I believe, is the being that they are fighting good versus evil for is the Beyonder, who is voiced by the Vorsoth in Voyager Elite Force.
Oh yeah, Earl Bowen.
Yes, Earl Bowen. It's very weird hearing his voice.
Sorry?
Yeah, he's Nagilum as well. It's weird hearing his voice in that cartoon, though. It's kind of like I want you to fight. That kind of thing.
It's a great voice.
It is a good voice. But, as I say, the heroes in that show are good. I like seeing other characters from different shows fighting alongside our main character.
So, Richard and Luke, were you rather... Well, did you get into cartoons in the 90s?
Yeah, it was all about Recess. It was all about Recess when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
Recess,
Absolutely.
Recess, and like Pingu. I know it's not animated, it's sort of different sort of
Pingu.
animation that is. And Thomas the Tank, all about that. That was my life.
Those were great, yeah.
Yeah,
So that'll be
so-
next episode. We're going to be indulging in 90s TV.
Including
God,
Spider-Man. Detail. Me and John will go full Spidey on that one.
we might or might not force Luke to shoot himself during the course of it.
There's some
Why-
quality
why-
stuff.
do you not-
whether I
do you not
ever
like-
watch it again.
Do you not like superheroes, Luke?
No, I'm not a big fan. I gotta say.
Oh dear. Well, to be honest, that's the only cartoon I watch. Like, let alone superhero cartoons. You know, that's the kind of only thing I watch. You know, I'm not really big on every superhero. It's just mainly Spider-Man, I suppose. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the appeal. I quite like the Marvel Avengers films and all that sort of thing. They're all right, but I just don't share it really. I don't feel anything for it. But I know it's very popular and I understand it, but I just don't share it.
Well, I believe this cartoon that me and John were talking about is actually available to watch on the Marvel website. So if you're ever really, really bored, which you won't be, bored enough
And
to go
an
and watch
interesting
that,
thing,
you know.
that was the only ever show produced by Marvel Animation Studios.
Yeah. We'll tell you what,
All
we'll
the
get more
other,
into this. Yeah.
Marvel's animations from the 90s were outsourced to other companies.
Yeah.
How interesting.
Even though the
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yes, shall we move on before Luke and Rich die? You know, of hearing about this.
We're older than you. We're gonna die first.
So, what shall we talk about next? Because we've rather covered our good guys. Do we want to branch into anywhere else, or should we start with the wrap up?
Well, I think we could, if we're going to do 90s television and or superheroes, that's a good topic, solid topic for a full data
Oh,
stream,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I guess I would leave it to next time.
Yeah, that's a good next thing to do.
I mean,
we
Sorry, I was just about to say, because obviously,
Yeah.
you've got the 90s Power Rangers whole franchise
Oh
as
my
well.
god, okay, bad idea, bad
Richard,
idea.
Oh,
next time.
no.
Next
Oh.
time.
I will just say I was an absolute fanatic for Power Rangers when I was very young, so I'm...
We just
Don't
leave
get
Luke
camper
with the
than that.
mighty Morphin Daleks.
Don't talk to me about those Daleks. You know what? Anything it was the campest show of all time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Also, the other problem is those enemies when they're doing their like acrobatics and stuff in Power Rangers, they just stand there. They take it. I mean, you could pull out a gun and just shoot them for God's sake. I mean, it's just-
Yeah, I think with Power Rangers, it's like all this sort of epic violence in like in a bloody car park or in a public play park or something. You know.
If you've ever
Like
seen the
that-
behind the scenes, it's worse. Anyway, let's get onto the wrap up then. So, Richard has already talked about what's happening at Riser following the lovely refresh of how everything looks.
Yeah, I broke it. Okay.
Done well,
You
done
didn't
well,
break
mate.
it, you made
Done
it
well.
look beautiful.
Well, yeah, no, it was just an unplanned release. So, but no,
But hey,
we're
there was
working
one
on it.
good perk. I can upload photos now. So if you come and join
Hey.
me on Riser, you'll get all the DataStream updates and you can see lovely photos of everything.
Absolutely.
what I've always wanted.
So,
Yes,
Luke, what are you up to? Anything interesting?
Well, stroking my lovely badges in the corner over there. A little update on if you're wanting to watch my latest YouTube video, please do so. It is I'll let Luke give his opinion on it. What do you think of it, Luke, as a Star Trek based
This
thing?
is the same clip you showed me the other day. This is the same clip you showed me the other day.
Yeah, but that depends if people watched it there or not. You know.
So I said, okay, you know, it's good because I liked it. It was good stuff. Yeah, but,
Yeah. Keep going.
it was well paced. I try to remember what I said about it. I really enjoyed it. It was very well paced, I seem to recall, and the phaser effects were very good, as were all the rumbling and rolling that was going on. And the people getting shot. That was all very nicely done. So, and a nice mix of a good dialogue scene and an action scene without either going on too long. So yeah, watch it now because it's
That's
really
Luke's
good. It's
official
more
review of
Star
this.
Trek.
But
Yeah.
you can
it
find
wasn't.
link in the description.
Yes, down there. If I'm perfectly honest, I mean that was a clip which was probably intended to be part of something bigger, but due to casting things and the huge amount of effort it will probably take, I don't think we'll get any more. But I'm very happy with what came out of the effort I put in for that. I'm glad it worked. I'm glad Luke liked it. So yeah, that's basically all I'm saying. Yes, that's all I'm up to. And oh yeah, of course, maths homework. Who could forget about the math?
And Luke?
Yes, that's me.
Still working on things.
You were saying how you'd have a massive void when you finished Unity.
Yeah, that's more of a like. I'm doing what really grinds your gears as well, but I think I've spoken of that earlier in other days.
When will that be making an appearance?
Oh, you'll find out. You'll find out. You'll find out. I don't kiss and tell. If that's the right term to use. No, nothing much else is going on with me. Except with the films I'm making, and you will be hearing more about that in due course. A lot of filming and writing at the moment, not a lot of editing or releasing, but stay tuned, be patient, I'm sure there'll be something fun. Me wearing bow ties, just like Luke there.
Well, our mystery is deepening with this Romulan contaminant that's destroying planets in our playthrough of Star Trek Legacy. So, we're still with Captain Archer on the NX-01, so join us, on Fridays for each episode.
Do it.
I know how it ends. I know how Legacy ends.
So
but we won't go there if you don't want to.
And I suppose next time we'll probably be discussing 90s TV, and can we please discuss Sherlock next time, because I have one more episode of season 3 to watch, and then we will be able to talk about it in
Luke
full.
will find his hat
good.
Again.
Yeah,
I might do. It depends what I'm wearing next time.
I met other Luke.
No, I'm going to get my Deerstalker. I don't know where it's gone. I'll go and get my Deerstalker.
But also, as it's spring, it's time for another showreel to make an appearance. So, for 2.5 minutes, have a look and see what we do. In our first DataStream.
No job, no. Coming down.
did you guys think of that?
Excellent.
Awesome.
I've already seen it. It's good.
I especially like the part where we were in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
So that basically just sums up what we've done over the past few months, in
perfect.
some cases years. So you've
Yeah,
got
it's
in
good.
there range of our Let's Plays and random gaming, and you've got some shots of our previous data streams, which of
shows
course
you
you can
off
find all
well.
of them at jfmsn.co.uk/datastream, where we've got
shows
the
you off well.
archive with every episode telling you exactly what guests we have, and lovely play buttons to watch it in video or as an audio download for your MP3 player.
Yes. And hopefully we can all. I think we're all a bit tired tonight, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
I think in 2 weeks' time we'll have a bigger.
Yeah. We're
Well, a
back
lot
on
more
the
topics to go.
27th to talk about 90s TV,
And we'll be.
which
Yeah,
will
I'm
be
sure
quite
we'll.
an enlightening
And,
topic, I think.
yes, we'll be more awake then. I think.
So, until then, enjoy your evenings, or afternoons, or whatever time it is where you
Bye.
are. Bye.